Okay, for lesson 3, I'm going to um, carry on where we left off, but I'll close the terminal just as to start that bit again. I'll open the terminal and I will type in sudo su to make sure that I'm in the correct level. And in this lesson, we're going to install an SSH server, rename our host, and we'll mess with the firewall. So to install SSH, I suppose if we type in service SSH status, it says a unit SSH service can't be found because that's not because it's installed, it's not installed. So apt for the application package installer, apt install open SSH dash server, and then -y because I don't want to be asked any questions, or just yes at everything. It opens the package for us. So that's basically installing SSH. Very quick, very simple to do. That's SSH installed. If I use the up arrow keys and I do service status now, it shows that SSH is up and running. So that's the SSH service up and running, and that means we can use Putty or the likes, Control-C to come out of that. We can use Putty or something to connect to our SSH service. But before we can connect to it, we'd have to open up our firewall settings. Okay, so to do that, we have to go to our Ubuntu firewall, or UFW as they call it. So if I go to UFW status, it says it's inactive. If I put verbose on the end, it doesn't show us anything at all. So the next thing I need to do then is enable my Ubuntu firewall. So if I do UFW enable, and you see it's now active and it's on startup. So if I go to UFW status, it shows it's active. If I do verbose now, it shows it's login on, it's low login, and it's got some default rules. That's about it. So what I'll do, to prove the concept, I'll open up Putty here, and I'll find out what my IP of this machine is. So for that, it's IP and A. And on the college network, it'll start with a 10. It'll be 10.0.40 or something like that. For me on my machine, that's the IP number of my virtual machine, and it's on port 22. So if I go to 192.168.145.130, which is the machine that my Ubuntu machine, and I click open, it'll open up a black screen like this, and it's going to time out because it can't connect to it. I'll close that because to save time. I'll open up Putty again, and I'll show you why. It says it wants to operate on port 22. So we need to allow it to operate on port 22. So if I go to, it's allow and deny, that's how we speak when we come to firewalls. So if I go to UFW, allow 22, allow 22, it's added the rule. So if I was to go to UFW status now, it shows that port 22 is allowed, okay? And if that's the version, that's IP version 6. So it's allowed. So if I now go to my firewall and I type in the IP number again, which was 192.168.145.130, I get these two boxes will open up. I click accept, and now it asks me to log in. I log in as Neil and the password I used, and I've now logged in. And I could, for example, I can type in, let's see if it'll work without service SSH status, and it shows that the service is active and it's running. So I'll close my session down. So what have we done there? We've installed SSH as a service. So if I can find it here, we looked for the service, it wasn't installed. We did apt install open SSH server. When the server was installed, we confirmed it was running it was showing it was active. Then when we tried to connect it, we couldn't connect. So we had to do UFW, Ubuntu Firewall enable. That enabled the firewall. And then we had to do UFW allow 22. Importantly, IP space A gives me my IP number. It's like using IP config. It gives me the IP number that I needed to use. And that's how I connected. But of course, it wouldn't connect until I enabled the port on the firewall. If we wanted to open up another port on the firewall, UFW allow, and if it was port 200, it would add the rule. If I do UFW status now, you see 200s there. If it said deny port 56, I would do UFW deny 56. And now if I go to my UFW status, you'll see that I've got port 56 denied, port 22 allow. So that's how we install SSH. That's how we enable and the firewall, allow and deny rules, and that's how we use Putty to connect to the firewall. So I hope you found that lesson useful. Thanks.